Snow in New York is supposed to be romantic on Christmas Eve. Tonight it feels like a curse. Slush sprays against the windshield as Lottie Hart leans over the steering wheel of her tiny hatchback, wipers fighting a losing battle against the thick white curtain. "This is fine," she mutters. "Totally fine. I am absolutely not about to lose the biggest pitch of my career because of stupid festive weather." The traffic light ahead flips from yellow to red, and she hits the brakes a second too late. The car fishtails on the icy road, tires skidding helplessly. Lottie yanks the wheel, heart slamming against her ribs, and her headlights slam into the sleek black rear end of the car in front of her with a sickening crunch. Metal meets metal. Her airbag explodes in her face. For one dazed beat, there is only silence and the slow hiss of snow settling over everything. Then her brain catches up. "No, no, no," she groans, shoving the airbag away and wrestling with the seatbelt. "Please tell me that is not an actual luxury car. Please tell me that is a cardboard cutout of a luxury car put there by Santa to teach me a lesson." She tumbles out into the freezing night, boots sliding on the ice. The other driver's door opens with smooth, expensive inevitability. A tall man steps out, dark wool coat falling perfectly in place, black gloves immaculate, expression carved from winter itself. The snow seems to avoid his polished shoes out of respect. He looks at the dent in his bumper, then at her battered hatchback. Finally his gaze lands on her, and something like disbelief flickers in eyes the color of storm clouds. "You rear-ended me," he says, voice low and precise. "In a blizzard, on a hill, while speeding." Lottie wipes melting snow from her lashes and forces a smile that is 90% panic. "Good evening to you too." He stares at her, waiting. "I might have been going a tiny bit over the speed limit," she admits. "But in my defense, I have a very important meeting in 30 minutes, and if I am late, my entire life implodes. So I feel like we are both victims here." "Victims," he repeats. "That is an interesting word choice, considering the fact that my rear bumper is now shaped like a question mark." He takes out his phone, thumb hovering over the screen. "Name, license, insurance." "Wait," Lottie blurts, heart leaping to her throat. "Please do not call the cops yet." His gaze narrows. "I am not calling the police. I am texting my body shop." Of course he has a body shop on speed dial. Of course. Lottie wraps her arms around herself, teeth chattering as wind knifes through her thin coat. "Look, I am really sorry. I will pay for it, eventually. In installments, possibly for the rest of my natural life. Or we could just pretend this never happened and call it a festive miracle." He looks at her again, properly this time, as if assessing a puzzle he cannot decide is amusing or dangerous. "Do you have any idea how much this car costs?" he asks. "How much the repairs will be?" She swallows. "Judging by your face, more than my organs are worth on the black market." "Correct." His tone does not shift. "Also correct that I do not accept organs as a form of payment." She huffs out a white puff of breath. "Clearly you have never met my liver." She is a hard worker. He does not laugh. Of course he does not laugh. The wind gusts, flinging snow sideways. Lottie shivers harder and glances past him. In the distance, glowing like a mirage against the whiteout, stands Aurora Manor, the legendary luxury resort hotel perched on the edge of the city, its windows warm with golden light. The place she is supposed to be in 28 minutes, pitching her Christmas design concept that could finally drag her tiny studio out of the gutter. The man follows her gaze, then looks back at her. "You are heading to Aurora Manor." It is not a question. "Yeah," she admits. "I am one of the designers pitching for the Christmas installation." Lottie Hart. "Heartlight Studio. I hand-painted my own logo, that is how broke I am." His brows lift a fraction. "I know all of the shortlisted firms. Heartlight Studio is not one of them." "Because I was not shortlisted," she says, heat rising in her chest. "I bullied my way into a 10-minute slot at the end, after all the big agencies. I brought mood boards, scale models, a playlist, glitter. I am very persuasive." "Clearly," he says dryly. She presses on, desperate. "The point is, if I miss that pitch, I am done. My studio dies, my rent eats me alive, and I will spend New Year's Eve selling discount tinsel at the grocery store. I cannot afford a luxury bumper. Yet here we are," he says calmly. "You can send your information to this address." He taps his phone and shows her the screen. The email address is an official one. The signature below it makes her stomach drop. Eden Thorne, CEO, Aurora Manor Resorts. Lottie goes temporarily blind. "You are joking," she says faintly. "You are joking, right?" This is a prank. There is a hidden camera. Where is the microphone? Did my best friend sign me up for some deranged reality show? I do not have time for a reality show, he says. And I do not joke about six-figure repair bills. She gapes at him. You are Eden Thorne. Last time I checked. He replies. You are the Eden Thorne, cold-hearted hotel king, scourge of the hospitality world, man who cancelled $1 million Christmas contract because the fairy lights were the wrong shade of gold. Warm white and hospital white are not the same thing, he says mildly. And do not believe everything you read. Snow swirls between them, soft and relentless. Okay, so she has just rear-ended her dream client. Her brain screams abort mission. Her mouth does the opposite. Okay, Lottie says, chest heaving. Fine, I cannot pay you. Not in cash, not in kidneys, not in firstborn children, because I plan to have those with someone who does not currently want to sue me. But I can offer you something else. He folds his arms. This should be interesting. She digs into her bag with numb fingers, yanks out the thick folder of her pitch. Color sketches, notes, mood boards spill into the snow. She frantically scoops them back up, pressing them to her chest. I am the person who can give Aurora Manor the most magical, emotional Christmas it has ever had, she says, eyes burning. I grew up with nothing. No big tree, no matching pajamas, no cameras flashing in front of a perfect fireplace. So I learned how to make magic out of cardboard and dollar store lights. I know what people come here looking for. I know how to give it to them. His gaze flicks to the scattered pages, then back to her face. And this helps my car because? He asks. Because I am going to make you a deal, Lottie says, forcing herself to stand straighter even as snow soaks through her boots. You do not file a claim. You do not send me into financial oblivion. In return, I design and install your entire Christmas experience for free to cover the damages, and I also agree to be your temporary girlfriend until the end of the holiday season, so you can wave me in your relatives' faces and get them off your back about marriage. He goes still. The wind howls down the street. Somewhere nearby, a car horn blares and fades. My temporary what? He says slowly. You heard me, she says. We write up a contract. You get a festive +1, and a legendary Christmas makeover. I get to keep my car, my studio, and my spine. Everybody wins. This is absurd, he says. Absolutely. She agrees. But you looked like you were about to send someone a text you really did not want to send. Let me guess. Family, asking if you are bringing a date tonight, so they can parade her around like an investment portfolio. A muscle ticks in his jaw. He does not answer. Lottie softens her tone. You hate it. I would hate it too. Let me be a shield you do not have to care about. I am loud, I am good with old ladies. I can fake being classy for at least 3 hours at a time. And I will make your hotel look like the inside of a snow globe, in a good way. His eyes search her face, as if she is a contract he is trying to read for hidden clauses. You are suggesting an informal indentured servitude arrangement, he says, in exchange for several tens of thousands of dollars of repairs. I am suggesting a Christmas contract, she says quickly. It has a built-in expiration date. Midnight on New Year's Eve. We shake hands and walk away. You get to go back to being the terrifying iceberg of Aurora Manor. I go back to being a struggling genius. Nobody owes anybody anything. He is quiet for a long moment. Snow gathers on his shoulders and the brim of his coat. He does not seem to notice. You work for free, he says at last. And you act as my girlfriend at all family events, when required. In exchange, I drop the repair claim. Yes, she says. And if your work is not up to standard, I reserve the right to fire you and reinstate the claim. She hesitates. You could maybe give me one chance to fix anything you do not like before you ruin my life. His mouth almost twitches. One revision. He allows. And if I agree, you move into staff housing at Aurora Manor for the duration. My team will need access to you at all hours. Designs are time sensitive. Her heart stutters. Staff housing. Inside the hotel. Inside the dream. Inside his territory. That sounds slightly creepy and also like the best thing I have ever been offered, she says. I accept. He extends a gloved hand. Then we have a deal, Miss Hart. She looks at his hand, at the flawless car, at the lights of Aurora Manor glowing in the distance like a promise. Then she grips his hand firmly, feeling the chill of his skin even through leather. Deal, she says. For just a second, something sparks in his gaze, sharp and bright, like the first flare of a match in the dark. Get in your car, he says. Do not drive over 5 miles per hour. Follow me to the manor. We will sign the paperwork there. She salutes him with 2 frozen fingers. Yes, boss. Do not call me that. He says. What should I call you then? She asks. He opens his door, looking back at her over his shoulder. Eden will do. He replies. She blinks. We are on a first-name basis already. I did not know this contract came with benefits. The car door shuts, cutting off any response. Lottie scrambles back into her own car, adrenaline turning to giddy, terrified laughter. Okay, she whispers to herself, watching the taillights of his Bentley pull away. So I just signed myself up to be the fake girlfriend of a cold front, in human form, and to decorate the most intimidating hotel in New York. No pressure at all. Snow whirls around her as she creeps forward after him, the city lights smudged and dreamy through the storm. Somewhere deep in her chest, under the panic, something else flickers to life. Hope. Aurora Manor looks even more unreal up close. By the time Lottie parks beside the service entrance, her car protesting every icy bump, the snowstorm has thickened into a full whiteout. The hotel rises out of it like a glass and stone castle carved with money. Inside, warmth hits her like a hug she does not trust. The lobby glows with polished marble, towering windows, and a fireplace large enough to roast an elk. Even half-decorated, it looks like a luxury holiday commercial. Uniformed staff move with quiet precision. Lottie instantly feels like a kid who has tracked mud into a jewelry store. Beside her, Eden shrugs off his coat. Underneath, his suit is perfectly tailored, his tie immaculate, his posture straight enough to snap. He glances down at her snow-soaked scarf, knit hat, and boots that have definitely seen better days. You are dripping on the imported stone. He says. Relax. She replies. Consider it a rustic charm. He almost rolls his eyes. Almost. A woman in her 50s approaches, wearing a dark green uniform, and the kind of smile that makes Lottie think of hot cocoa and soft blankets. Her gray-streaked hair is pulled back in a neat bun, and her bright eyes crinkle when she sees Eden. Mr. Thorne, you are back. She says. Then her gaze lands on Lottie, and her smile deepens. And you brought a guest. Lottie, this is Martha. Eden says. She keeps the entire manor from collapsing into chaos. Martha waves a hand. Flattery will not get you another late-night sandwich, dear. At least not a decent one. And you look frozen, miss. Hart. Lottie says quickly. Lottie Hart. I am, the new seasonal designer. And. Eden adds, like he is dropping a bomb in the middle of the lobby. My girlfriend. Martha's eyebrows shoot up so high they nearly vanish into her hairline. She turns to Lottie, eyes suddenly glittering with intensity. Is that so? She says warmly. Well, Merry Christmas to me. Lottie fights the urge to hide behind her portfolio. It is a long story. I adore long stories. Martha says. Especially when they involve this one letting someone inside that icebox he calls a heart. Eden clears his throat. We need to go over the contract in my office. Of course you do. Martha says. I will have hot cocoa and gingerbread sent up. Miss Hart, I am at your service if you need anything at all. Also, if you ever want embarrassing baby stories about Eden, I have a catalog. Martha. Eden warns. She pats his arm. Relax, dear. I will pace myself. Lottie follows him across the lobby, grinning despite herself. Do you know she loves you? She is paid well. He says. Gratitude looks similar from a distance. That is not what I meant. I know. He says quietly. His office is a sleek space of dark wood and glass overlooking the snowy grounds. Lottie tries not to stare too hard at the view, or at the man sliding behind the massive desk with practiced ease. He pulls up a digital form, reading through it with quick, sharp eyes. All right, Miss Hart. He says. Terms. You will act as creative director for all Christmas installations and events at Aurora Manor from today until January 1st. You will reside on site in staff quarters. You will attend family functions as my partner when requested. In exchange, I will not pursue legal or financial action for the accident. Lottie shifts in her chair. Can we also add that I get to put my studio's name on any official design credits? I need the exposure. Done. He says, typing it in. And you will be paid a nominal stipend for food and incidentals. You do not have to. I want your focus on the work. He says, not looking up. Not on whether you can afford coffee. Her chest squeezes unexpectedly. You just became 10% less terrifying. Do not get used to it. He replies, but the corners of his mouth soften. He finishes typing, then turns the screen toward her. Read carefully. She does, forcing herself to skim every line instead of getting lost in the fact that her name is now right beside his in a legally binding document labeled Seasonal Partnership Agreement. Looks good, she says at last. He hands her a pen. Her fingers tighten around it. Once I sign this, we cannot pretend this was just a weird, stress-induced hallucination. You rammed my car, he says. Hallucinations do not leave dents. She snorts, then bends and signs. He signs after her, his signature efficient and controlled. And just like that, she is under contract with a man who probably schedules his feelings on a spreadsheet. A knock sounds at the door. Martha enters with a tray balanced expertly in her hands, steam curling from 2 mugs. Hot cocoa, extra marshmallows, Martha announces. And gingerbread men. I gave the poor souls scarves this time. Last batch I left them naked, and it felt like a crime. Lottie breathes in the rich chocolate scent, her stomach rumbling. You are a lifesaver. Martha sets the tray down, then peers at the signed document on the desk. Is that the dating contract? Eden nearly chokes on his cocoa. It is not a dating contract. It absolutely is, Martha says serenely. And I approve. It is a temporary arrangement for mutual benefit. He insists. Sweetheart, that is what marriage is half the time. Martha says. Do not ruin it by making it sound like an M and a deal. She winks at Lottie. If he gets too insufferable, come find me. I have a rolled-up newspaper just for his ego. Duly noted, Lottie says, grinning. Martha bustles out again, humming a Christmas tune under her breath. Eden pinches the bridge of his nose. You are going to get along dangerously well with her. That sounds like a you problem, Lottie says. He ignores that. You will be in the staff wing on the 6th floor. I will have someone bring your things up. My things are currently a duffel bag with 3 sweaters and a tragic number of candy cane socks, she says. But sure, treat them gently. He rises. We have 2 days before the first preview event. I want to see your full design plan by tomorrow morning. 2 days. For a hotel the size of a small kingdom. Great, she says weakly. Love that for us. And tonight, he adds. You will be attending a small family supper as my guest. She freezes. Tonight? Yes. My grandmother insisted on seeing my mysterious +1 before the season starts. You will have 3 hours to shower, change, and rehearse pretending you like me. I do like you, she protests. In a complicated, why are you like this way? That is not reassuring, he says. She forces her brain into gear. Okay, quick briefing. What is our backstory? Excuse me. Your family will ask, she says. How we met. How long we have been dating. How you convinced a chaotic Christmas gremlin like me to tolerate your spreadsheet soul. We cannot show up unprepared. He eyes her warily. What did you have in mind? She taps her chin. We met when you came into the studio to ask for a custom wreath and yelled at me about pine needle symmetry. I do not yell. Fine, she says. You emotionally raised your eyebrows at me about pine needle symmetry. It was deeply hurtful. I challenged you to trust me for 1 entire season. You secretly admired my courage. I secretly admired your weird obsession with fairy lights. Now we are in love and everything is festive. He stares at her. That is ridiculous, he says at last. Do you have a better idea? She asks. He opens his mouth, then closes it. Thought so, she says. Congratulations, we just became a meet cute. Something glints in his eyes again. You realize I own this hotel, he says. If I say I met you at a charity gala, they will believe me. You went to a charity gala without a tie last month, she says promptly. You left after 20 minutes. You do not meet people at charity galas. You hide from them behind a glass of whiskey. He studies her. How do you know that? The internet exists, she says. Also your face screams I would rather be answering emails. He exhales through his nose, a sound that might almost be a laugh. Fine, he says. Pine needle symmetry it is. Victory warms her more than the cocoa. 3 hours later, Lottie stands in front of the full-length mirror in the staff hallway, trying to convince herself she belongs in the reflection. She has managed to coax her curls into something resembling intentional, pinned half up with a sparkly clip. Her dress is emerald green, borrowed from her friend's closet, hugging her curves and making her eyes look brighter. She has even put on lipstick, a deep berry shade that makes her feel like a braver version of herself. She is still the girl who used to tape paper snowflakes to the window of a small, drafty apartment, and pretend it was a winter wonderland. But for tonight, she can also be the woman who walks into a billionaire's family dinner like she has every right to be there. A soft knock sounds. Come in, she calls. Eden steps inside and stops. For a fleeting second, the controlled lines of his body falter. His gaze travels from her curls to her dress to the glitter at her ears, and his pupils widen just enough for her to catch. "You look different," he says. "In a good way?" she asks. He clears his throat. "In a very distracting way." Heat rushes to her cheeks. "Careful, Thorn." That almost sounded like a compliment. It was a factual observation, he says, but his voice has lost some of its crisp edges. He is in a charcoal suit, tie loosened just enough to suggest he is not a complete robot. For the first time, Lottie notices the shadows under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. "You okay?" she asks quietly. "You look like someone who is about to step into a board meeting full of sharks." "That is not far off," he says. "My grandmother will be pleased. The rest of them will have opinions. Then we will give them a show," she says, surprising herself with the fierce note in her voice. "You are the man who cancelled $1 million contract over white balance. You can handle your own family." He smiles, small but real. "Stay close to me. I was planning on it," she says. "Contract, remember?" He offers his arm. She takes it, feeling the solid heat of him even through fabric, and together they head toward the private dining room, where the first performance of their Christmas romance is about to begin. The private dining room at Aurora Manor looks like a magazine spread. Candles flicker in tall crystal holders, casting golden light over an absurdly long table. Evergreen garlands run down the center, dotted with white roses and silver ornaments. At the far end, an older woman with sharp cheekbones and kind eyes sits like a queen on a throne. She rises when they enter, her face breaking into a smile. "There you are," she says. "I was beginning to think you had abandoned me to the wolves, Eden." "Grandmother," he says, leaning down to kiss her cheek. "Traffic." She swats his arm lightly, then turns to Lottie. "And this must be the young woman who has finally convinced my grandson he is not married to his hotel," she says. "I am Eleanor Thorne. You may call me Nora if you like, but if you call me ma'am, I will disinherit him out of spite." "Lottie Hart," Lottie says, nerves fluttering. "It is very nice to meet you, and respectfully, if you disinherit him, please consider leaving the hotel to Martha. She deserves it." Eleanor laughs, a clear, delighted sound. "Oh, I like you already." Introductions swirl around them, a blur of cousins and aunts and sleek-suited uncles. Lottie smiles, shakes hands, and repeats the cover story Eden reluctantly approved. She owns a small design studio. They met over pine needles. He was insufferable. She was stubborn. Somewhere along the way, they discovered they made an excellent team. Some people buy it easily. Some narrow their eyes, calculating. One woman in a red dress leans in with a practiced smile. "So, Lottie, are you here only for the holidays, or do you see yourself in Eden's life long term?" Lottie chokes on her water. Eden's hand settles lightly at the small of her back, grounding. "I try not to make 5-year plans with men who schedule their sleep," Lottie says lightly. "I am more of a let us survive December and see if he still likes my Christmas playlist in January type." A few people chuckle. The woman in red's smile tightens. Eden's thumb moves, the tiniest reassuring stroke. Dinner is a test disguised as a meal. Questions fly at them from every side. Lottie improvises answers, weaving in half-truths about her work, her life, her stubborn refusal to play by industry rules. Eden backs her up with dry interjections that sound suspiciously like pride. By dessert, when Eleanor announces that she expects both of them at Christmas Eve Mass and the charity auction, Lottie's feet hurt, but her shoulders are looser. She has not been eaten alive. She has, in fact, made Eleanor laugh so hard she had to dab tears from her eyes when Lottie recounted accidentally setting a plastic reindeer's antlers on fire during a previous job. After dinner, as people drift toward the lounge, Eleanor takes Lottie's hand. "Walk with me a moment," she says. They stroll down a quieter hallway lined with old photographs of Aurora Manor in various stages of snowfall. "You know he has not brought anyone home in 5 years," Eleanor says conversationally. "Oh," Lottie says, startled. "Well, I am not sure I qualify as brought home. It is more like a temporarily rented." Eleanor's lips twitch. "Perhaps. But he looks at you like a man who has found an unexpected warm fire in a snowstorm. That is rare for him." Lottie's heart does a weird, painful little turn. "He mostly looks at me like I am a walking safety hazard." "Dear, he looks at everything like it is a walking safety hazard," Eleanor says. "With you, there is light in it." They pause in front of a photo of a younger Eden, maybe 20, standing beside Eleanor in front of a half-decorated tree. His smile is small and distant, his eyes already serious. He does not know how to be soft without feeling like he is failing. Eleanor says, "If you can teach him that softness is not weakness, I will owe you more than any contract would pay." Lottie swallows past the sudden lump in her throat. "I do not know if I am that powerful." Eleanor pats her hand. "You underestimate yourself. Now, tell me about these interactive trees you are planning." Martha says they will make grown men cry. Lottie lights up, launching into an explanation of the wish projection concept, the way guests will be able to write wishes on small wooden stars, and have them appear as glowing lights in the branches for a few moments. By the time they rejoin the lounge, her hands are moving animatedly, and Eleanor's eyes are shining. Across the room, near the fireplace, a woman in a champagne gown watches them, jaw tight, eyes dark with calculation. Blair Cohen. Lottie recognizes her from trade articles and industry gossip. Heiress to a major decor company. Known for stealing smaller firms' clients and taking all the credit. Also rumored to be very interested in Eden Thorne's empty left hand. As Lottie and Eleanor approach, Blair sweeps over, smile wide. "Eden." She purrs. "You did not tell me you had brought a date tonight." "Blair," he says, tone flat. "I did not realize you were attending. My father insisted." Blair says breezily. "Christmas is about family, after all. And the Aurora Manor contract has practically made us family, do you not think?" Lottie's stomach dips. "Excuse me." Blair's smile sharpens. "Oh, did he not tell you? Our firm is one of the top contenders for the Christmas installation this year. We worked very hard on a proposal that aligns with the Thorne family brand." She slides a deliberate glance at Eden, as if expecting him to confirm. He does not. "Proposals are under review," he says. "No decisions have been made." Blair laughs lightly. "Of course. I am simply optimistic." Her gaze rakes Lottie from curls to boots. "And you are?" "Lottie Hart." Lottie says, forcing her voice to stay cool. "Independent designer. I work with found materials, small budgets, and unreasonable timelines." "How quaint." Blair says. "Eden, darling, you will have to show me her work. I am sure it is very bohemian." In her chest, something hot flares. She takes a slow breath and smiles. "Actually, Eden has already seen my work," she says. "He hired me." Silence drops like a snowdrift. Blair's eyes flash. "He what?" Eden's arm tightens almost imperceptibly at Lottie's waist. "Aurora Manor is working with Lottie this season," he says evenly. "On an exclusive basis." Lottie blinks. Exclusive basis was not in the contract. The words land like a sparkler going off inside her. Blair's face drains of color, then floods with it again. "I see," she says, voice brittle. "Well, then I suppose I will enjoy watching whatever rustic charm you bring to this place. Good luck, Miss Hart. You will need it." She glides away on knife-sharp heels. Lottie exhales slowly. "She is going to come for me," she murmurs. "She can try." Eden says. "You are under my protection now." "Wow," Lottie says. "That is the most romantic thing anyone has ever said to me, and it sounded like you were negotiating a merger." He glances down at her. "If you expect me to speak in Christmas Carol lyrics, you will be disappointed." She smiles, but her mind is already racing. If Blair had thought the contract was theirs, there had to be a reason. Someone at Aurora Manor, maybe in middle management, had given her access. Someone who stood to gain from sabotaging Lottie. She does not know who yet. But she intends to find out. The next morning, chaos officially begins. Lottie wakes in her small, but cozy staff room to the smell of coffee and the distant sound of drills. The 6th floor is a maze of narrow corridors and doors labeled with neat brass plaques. Her window looks out over the snow-blanketed gardens. For a moment, she lies there, watching flakes swirl past the glass, and lets herself feel the impossible fact of it. She did it. She is inside. Then her phone buzzes with a message from Eden. 6 a.m. sharp. Ballroom. Do not be late. She groans, flings herself out of bed, and spends 10 frantic minutes pulling on leggings, an oversized sweater, and boots. She scrapes her curls into a messy ponytail, grabs her notebook, and bolts. The ballroom is cavernous, its ceiling glittering with chandeliers, its floor a polished ocean of wood. At one end, a small army of staff stands ready. Eden is there too, hands folded behind his back, winter personified in a navy sweater. "You are 3 minutes late," he says as she skids to a stop. "Wow, you have a stopwatch for a soul." She pants. "I love that for you." He ignores that. "Everyone, this is Lottie Hart, our Christmas creative director. If she tells you to hang upside down from the rafters and blow glitter through a straw, you will do it." A ripple of amusement runs through the staff. Lottie raises a hand. I will try to keep the glitter straw thing as a last resort. She says. Hi. I know I am new. I know I am not a famous agency with a fancy logo. But I promise you, if we work together, Aurora Manor is going to look like the kind of Christmas that makes people cry happy tears and tip well. That gets a few more smiles. She spends the next hour explaining the plan, the interactive trees, the wish projection system, the gingerbread village that will wrap around the lobby, the snowflake lanterns lining the walkway to the ice rink. Eden listens, expression unreadable, asking precise questions about cost, safety codes, traffic flow. By the time they break, Lottie's voice is hoarse and her heart is racing, but in a good way. For the first time, the concept feels real. Then she finds Blair in the loading bay, talking to one of the assistant managers, a man with nervous eyes. Told you already, Ms. Cohen. He is saying. Mr. Thorne has signed an exclusive. Blair's smile is thin and sharp. Exclusive can be undone. You and I both know Aurora's Christmas budget is not bottomless. When your little indie pixie goes over, who do you think they will call for a rescue plan? Lottie steps forward before she can talk herself out of it. Fun thing about rescue plans, she says. They work better when you are not the one who set the building on fire. Blair turns, mask of sweetness snapping on. Miss Hart, she says. I was just reassuring Michael here that our firm will be ready to assist if your ambitious ideas go sideways. Do not worry, Lottie says, keeping her tone bright. The only direction my ideas go is up, straight into 5-star review territory. Blair's gaze flicks over her, dismissive. We will see. She strides away, heels clicking like gunshots on the concrete. Michael flinches. I am sorry. He mutters. She is a persuasive. Lottie softens. She is a hurricane in heels. It is okay. I get it. Just if she asks for any copies of my designs, please send her a picture of a trash can instead. He snorts involuntarily, then clamps a hand over his mouth. Yes, Miss Hart. As the day unspools, Lottie throws herself into the work. She climbs ladders, tests projections, argues with a lighting tech about the correct temperature of fairy lights. She banters with Martha in the kitchen, steals too many gingerbread samples, and nearly falls asleep standing up, while testing snow machines on the back terrace. Through it all, Eden is a steady presence, moving from team to team, putting out metaphorical fires with calm authority. He questions everything, pushes for better, and, Lottie realizes, backs her in front of anyone who doubts. At one point, when a contractor smirks about the artsy girl with the glitter glue, Eden's voice goes glacial. She is the only reason Aurora Manor is getting a new Christmas experience instead of a slightly upgraded mall display. He says, if you cannot respect her expertise, you are free to leave. The man shuts up very quickly. That night, when Lottie stumbles back to her room, snow dust in her hair and muscles aching, she finds a box on her bed. Inside is a thick, ridiculously soft red sweater and a handwritten note. You will freeze to death in those thin things. Consider this a business expense. Lottie presses the sweater to her face, inhaling the faint scent of cedar, and something clean. Her heart does something foolish. This is fine. She tells the empty room. You are not actually falling for your fake boyfriend. You are just emotionally compromised by knitwear. The first preview night arrives with clear skies and a hard glitter of frost. Aurora Manor glows from every window. The entrance drive is lined with lanterns and snowflake lights. The lobby smells like cinnamon and pine. Lottie stands near the grand staircase, wearing the red sweater over black jeans and boots, her curls tucked under a knit beret. Guests trickle in, eyes widening as they take in the transformed space. The interactive wish tree stands in the center of the lobby, branches dripping with tiny wooden stars. Nearby, a discreet kiosk allows guests to type in a wish, which appears for a few seconds as glowing text in the canopy, before dissolving into drifting light. A little girl, maybe 6, tugs at her father's sleeve. Daddy, can I make a wish? He kneels to help her type. A moment later, in shimmering gold letters, the words I wish Mom could come home for Christmas glow among the branches. Lottie's breath catches. The father's shoulders shake once. He lifts his daughter into his arms, kissing her hair, as the words scatter into light and reappear as a tiny star in the branches. Around them, other guests watch, expressions soft. Eden appears at her side, hands in his coat pockets. You did this, he says quietly. I had help, she says, blinking fast. You approved the budget for the projection system. I approved a line item, he says. You turned it into this. She looks up at him. For once, the hard angles of his face are eased, his eyes reflecting the lights above them. Do you like it? She asks. I do. He says simply. Warmth floods her. The gingerbread village around the fountain is an edible map of New York, complete with tiny brownstone houses, a gingerbread Central Park, and a miniature Aurora Manor dusted in powdered sugar. Martha's team outdid themselves. Kids press their noses to the plexiglass barrier, shrieking when they find the gingerbread taxicabs. Blair is not present, at least not visibly. Lottie half expects her to leap out from behind a tree with a cease and desist letter. Instead, the evening unfolds like a film. Live carolers sing on the balcony. Couples pose for photos under mistletoe arches. Staff circulate with trays of spiced cider and hot chocolate. When the crowd thins, Eden leads Lottie out to the back terrace, where the snow-covered gardens stretch under a sky full of stars. Portable heaters glow like small suns. You did well, he says. She laughs. Are you capable of saying anything with more emotion than a quarterly report? He tilts his head. You were extraordinary. Heat races up her neck. Wow. Someone check if hell just froze over. You did not doubt your own work, he says, ignoring her joke. You walked into a hostile space and made it yours. I respect that. High praise from the Ice King, she murmurs. He steps closer, breath visible in the cold air. You call me that a lot. If the crown fits, she says, trying to keep her tone light. Maybe you are wrong, he says. Maybe the ice is just too very thick. Her heart stutters. Then it is a good thing I like a challenge, she says, voice a little unsteady. Silence stretches between them, charged. Snow glows faint blue in the garden lights. Somewhere, faintly, she hears carolers, the clink of glassware. Eden's gaze drops to her mouth. Her pulse thrums loud in her ears. Lottie, he says softly. Yes, she whispers. The terrace door bangs open. There you are, Martha says, bustling out with a shawl. Both of you are going to catch your deaths out here. I swear, creative people and executives, no survival instincts. Lottie leaps back, nearly tripping over her own boots. We were just checking the sight lines. Martha says, entirely unconvinced. She drapes the shawl around Lottie's shoulders anyway. Sight lines are better when you can feel your nose. Eden clears his throat. Thank you, Martha. Do not thank me, Martha says. Just make sure she eats something that is not sugar before midnight. When she disappears back inside, Lottie sinks onto a nearby bench, laughter shaking her. I was not about to kiss you, Eden says abruptly. Oh, she says, stomach sinking. I was thinking about it, he admits. Which is precisely why it should not happen. She stares at him. Wow, that was a plot twist. This is a contract, he says, hands flexing at his sides. It has boundaries. I do not cross boundaries with employees. I am not exactly on your payroll, she says. I am more like a walking disaster that hit you with a car. His mouth quirks. That does not make this less complicated. She pulls the shawl tighter around herself. You are right. The words taste like disappointment. Until the contract ends, he says quietly. I suggest we focus on the work. And the fake dating, she says. Do not forget the fake dating. Of course, he says. That too. She forces a smile, even as something small cracks inside. Relax, Thorne. I know the rules. I am very good at pretending things do not matter. He looks at her, really looks, and something like regret flickers over his features. Some things do matter, he says. That is the problem. Before she can respond, guests spill onto the terrace, laughing and snapping photos. Lottie pastes on her professional grin and launches into a description of the upcoming Christmas Eve program. Later, alone in her room, she stares at the ceiling, listening to the distant hum of the hotel. The contract ends in 2 weeks. She is not supposed to fall for him in the meantime. Unfortunately, nobody told her heart. Christmas Eve dawns bright and bitterly cold. The city outside Aurora Manor is a postcard of plowed streets and bundled pedestrians. Inside, the hotel hums with controlled chaos. Lottie spends the morning making last-minute adjustments to the wish tree, taping down cables, and arguing with a supplier about a late shipment of fake snow. By afternoon, she has frosting on her sleeve, glitter in her hair, and 3 different to-do lists scribbled on her hands. Around 3, Eden corners her near the service elevators. You need to get ready, he says. The family will arrive at 6. I am ready, she says, gesturing to her sweater and jeans. This is peak holiday chic. He lifts a brow. You are presenting my hotel's grand Christmas reveal to board members, investors, and several high-profile guests. She sighs. Fine. I will go put on something that does not have a gingerbread stain. He hesitates. Lottie. She looks up. After the gala. He says slowly. We should talk. Her stomach flips. That sounds ominous. It is necessary. He says. We will both feel better once the terms are clear. Right. She says, voice a little thin. Because nothing says festive like a performance review of our fake relationship. His mouth tightens, but he does not correct her. In her room, she pulls on a midnight blue dress that makes her feel like a grown-up version of herself, the one who actually knows what she is doing. She twists her hair up, leaves a few curls loose, and puts on the simple silver necklace her mother once pawned, and then managed to buy back 3 Christmases later. By the time she meets Eden outside the ballroom doors, the butterflies in her stomach have formed a marching band. He is in a black suit and tie, every line of him clean and dangerous. When he sees her, his eyes darken, just for a second. You look He begins, then stops. If you say presentable, I am walking. She says. He huffs out a breath that might be a laugh. Beautiful. Her heart stumbles. Oh. Do not let it go to your head. He says. Too late. She whispers. The gala is a blur of lights and music and clinking glasses. Cameras flash. Reporters snap photos of the wish tree as guests line up, eager to see their words appear in glowing script among the branches. Kids tug their parents from attraction to attraction, leaving footprints in the snow. Blair arrives halfway through, wearing a gold dress that could double as armor. She stalks through the lobby like she owns it, smile fixed. When she sees Lottie beside Eden, her expression curdles. You have done a passable job. She says, voice sweet and poisonous. Though the wish tree concept feels familiar. Did you perhaps see our firm's installation at the plaza last year? Lottie holds her gaze. I saw it. She says calmly. It used pieces of paper and a cork board. This is a little different. Blair's jaw flexes. Enjoy your moment, Miss Hart. When the New Year decorations roll around, we will see who Aurora chooses to partner with. News flash. Lottie says. I will be too busy booking clients off this project to care. Blair's eyes flash. Confidence looks charming on you. I look forward to watching it shatter. She glides away toward a cluster of board members, smile flipping back on. Eden's hand brushes Lottie's. Do not let her get to you. He murmurs. Oh, I will let her get to me. Lottie says. Straight to my vision board of people I plan to crush professionally. He smiles, tension easing from his shoulders. At 8 sharp, the main lights dim. A hush falls over the crowd. Lottie steps onto the small stage in front of the wish tree, microphone in hand, heart pounding. Good evening. She says, voice carrying through the lobby. My name is Lottie Hart, and this year, I had the honor of working with the Aurora Manor team to create a Christmas experience that is not just beautiful, but personal. Dozens of faces turn toward her. Eden stands near the front, gaze steady as a promise. We wanted this place to feel like more than a backdrop for photos. She continues. We wanted it to feel like a living scrapbook of the wishes, memories, and messy, wonderful love that people bring with them when they walk through these doors. She gestures to the tree. Every star above you holds a wish that someone here has made tonight. Some are small, some are huge, some are funny, some may. She swallows, thinking of the little girl and her wish. Are brave. As she speaks, the projection tech triggers a cascade of wishes, phrases blooming in the branches, and dissolving into stars. I hope when you leave tonight, Lottie says, you feel like Christmas is not something the hotel did for you. It is something you brought here, and left glowing in our walls. When she finishes, the silence stretches for a beat. Then the applause crashes over her like a wave. She blinks hard, throat tight. Eden is clapping, something bright and fierce in his eyes. After the program, the crowd disperses into smaller knots. Lottie answers questions about the installations, posing for photos with families in front of the gingerbread city. A little boy tells her he wants to be a Christmas builder when he grows up. An older couple thanks her for the quiet corner she created near the fireplace, where people can sit and write letters to loved ones. For a moment, the exhaustion and anxiety of the last week fall away, replaced by a bone-deep certainty. She is exactly where she is supposed to be. Much later, when the last guest has drifted up to their suite, and the lobby is a faint echo of laughter and music, Eden finds her in the dim light near the now quiet tree. You were right, he says. About what? She asks, toes aching in her heels. About people coming here looking for something. He says. You gave them more than a pretty backdrop. You gave them a hope. She smiles tiredly. Hope pays less than invoices, but it feels better. He hesitates. Lottie. The talk. She braces. Right. The contract debrief. My favorite part of any romantic evening. His lips twitch. This was never supposed to be romantic. Then you should not have let me see you in a soft sweater with flour on your face. She says. Mixed signals. He looks, for the first time since she met him, genuinely uncertain. When we made this agreement, he says slowly, I thought I was buying myself time, a buffer between me and my family, a way to avoid another strategically arranged introduction at the Christmas table. And instead, she says, heart-thudding, you got stuck with me. Instead, he says, eyes locked on hers. I met someone who crashes into things because she is moving so fast toward what she wants that she cannot imagine stopping. Someone who makes hotels and people feel warmer simply by walking through the door. Her breath catches. Eden. I told myself I would keep this simple. He says. Boundaries. No blurred lines. And then you showed up in that emerald dress and told my grandmother you would haunt me if I hurt you, and she nearly choked on her wine. She deserved to know the terms. Lottie whispers, dizzy. I am breaking my own rules. He says. She swallows. Which ones? The one about not kissing you. He says. The one about not imagining what it would be like if this were not pretend. Silence hums between them. The contract ends in a week. She says softly. I know. He says. I also know I do not want it to. Her heart stalls, then slams back to life. What are you saying? He takes a step closer. I am saying I would like to renegotiate. No more fake dates. No more expiration date. Just a you and me. For real. If you want that. The words land in her chest like a snowflake that somehow burns. She laughs, shaky. You are proposing a relationship like it is a long-term lease. It is the only language I know. He says. But I am willing to learn a new one. If you will teach me. Emotion surges up, overwhelming. You are very bad at subtlety, you know that? She says. You could have just asked me if I like you back. Do you? He asks quietly. She looks at him, at the man who cancelled a contract over fairy lights, but remembered the exact way she takes her coffee. The man who looked at her designs and saw something worth betting his reputation on. The man who, for all his icy control, stood up for her in rooms she had never thought she would enter. Yes. She says, voice steady. I like you, Eden Thorne. In a very inconvenient, I cannot imagine next Christmas without you way. His shoulders relax, the tension of years easing all at once. Then, he says, may I kiss you now? She smiles, tears stinging her eyes. Consider this my signed consent form. His laugh is quiet and disbelieving. Then his hand is on her cheek, warm and careful, and his mouth is on hers. The kiss is not fireworks at first. It is a slow, cautious exhale, a question answered, a boundary crossed with reverence. Then she curls her fingers into his lapels, pulls him closer, and something inside both of them breaks open. Fireworks explode anyway. Christmas Day dawns with soft snow and softer light. Lottie wakes to the sound of carols somewhere down the hall and the realization that her cheeks hurt from smiling in her sleep. Her phone buzzes. Meet me by the lake in 20 minutes. She bundles into the red sweater, jeans, boots, scarf, and coat and hurries downstairs. The gardens are hushed, snow lying thick over hedges and statues. The small frozen lake glitters under a pale sky. Eden is waiting near the dock, breath fogging the air. He is holding a thermos and a paper bag. Coffee and cranberry muffins. He says. From Martha, under threat of bodily harm if I let you go hungry on Christmas. Lottie laughs, cupping the hot mug gratefully. Remind me to put her in my will. They sit on the bench overlooking the lake. For a while, they just drink coffee and watch a dog in the distance attempt and fail to chase its own tail. So, Lottie says eventually, was last night a one-time contract amendment, or are we talking full policy rewrite? He smiles sideways at her. You negotiate like me. I learned from the best. She says. He sobers. I meant what I said. I want this, not just for December. I want to see what normal looks like with you in it. Morning coffee that is not just fuel. Dinners that are not all client meetings. Holidays that do not feel like performance reviews. Her chest tightens. You know my life is a mess, right? I still cannot keep a plant alive. I own more glitter than real utensils. I know. He says. I also know you can turn cardboard into magic, and an anxious little girl's wish into something sacred. I will take the glitter. She bites her lip. Okay, then I need to say something too. He looks at her, attentive. This hotel is not my whole world. She says. I have been killing myself trying to prove that I deserve to be here, that I belong. But when the season ends, I have clients who cannot afford suites here, but deserve something beautiful too. I am not going to give that up. I would never ask you to. He says immediately. Lottie, I am not interested in turning you into a Thorn brand accessory. I want to invest in Heartlight, not absorb it. She blinks. Did you just compare dating me to diversifying your portfolio? He grimaces. I am working on it. She laughs, warmth blooming in her chest. We can workshop the metaphors later. He reaches into his coat pocket. For now. He says. I have a question. Her heart lurches when she sees the small box. Oh my God. She blurts. If that is what I think it is, you should know I am emotionally still in the talk about feeling stage. He opens it. Inside is not a diamond ring, but a delicate silver snowflake pendant, its edges catching the light. Relief and something like disappointment collide in her ribcage. She hates herself a little for the disappointment. This is not a proposal. He says quickly. I mean, not that kind. Not yet. Consider it a new contract. He lifts the pendant out, fingers steady. Lottie Hart, would you consider renewing our agreement as follows? Clause 1. You continue to create ridiculous, wonderful things that make people cry in my lobby at least once a year. Clause 2. You allow me to be the person who brings you coffee when you inevitably forget to eat. Clause 3. You let this be real, messy and imperfect and not bound by an end date. Her throat closes up. That is the worst written romance contract I have ever heard. She manages. Is that a no? He asks softly. She shakes her head, tears burning. It is a resounding yes, with one amendment. Name it. He says. She takes the pendant, fingers brushing his. Clause 4. Every year, on Christmas Eve, we revisit this contract under the biggest tree we can find and ask ourselves if we would sign it again. No autopilot, no obligation, just a choice. He looks at her like she hung the stars herself. You think there is a world where I say no? He asks. There might be a world where I do. She says. If you ever stop respecting my work or my glitter use. Relationships do not stay good by default. They stay good because people keep choosing each other. His jaw softens. Then I choose you. He says. Every year, every clause. She swallows a sob. Then I choose you too. He fastens the necklace around her throat, fingers warm against her skin. When he is done, he presses a kiss to the back of her neck that sends shivers down her spine. Besides, she says, trying to lighten the moment. If we ever break up, Aurora Manor would be a nightmare. Imagine us trying to divide custody of the wish tree. Unacceptable. He says. I have spent my whole life thinking Christmas was a marketing opportunity. Now that you have ruined me, there is no going back. She laughs through her tears. I ruin everything I touch. Ask your bumper. His eyes crinkle. I am very glad you hit my car. That is the weirdest romantic sentence I have ever heard. She says. Get used to it. He replies. You signed up for my particular brand of emotionally challenged affection. Snow drifts down, soft and relentless. He pulls her closer, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. She leans into him, resting her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart under the expensive wool. Lottie, he says after a while. For the record. He says, voice low. When I propose for real, it will not be with a snowflake necklace. Oh, she asks, pulse skipping. No, he says. It will involve at least one catastrophic Christmas decoration, your favorite song, and possibly a recreated car accident, without the actual crash. She snorts. So you are planning to traumatize me into saying yes. I am planning, he says. To make sure you never doubt I am serious. Her eyes sting again, but she smiles. Good. She says. Because I fully expect a proposal worthy of a woman who once negotiated her way out of a 6-figure repair bill with glitter. I would expect nothing less. He says. They sit in comfortable silence, watching their breath mingle in the cold air, their footprints already blurring under fresh snow. Somewhere in the distance, bells ring from a church in the city. The wind carries faint music from the hotel, the sound of children laughing near the gingerbread village. Inside Aurora Manor, wishes hang glowing in the branches of a towering tree, each one a tiny promise of a future someone hopes for. Out here, on a snow-dusted bench by a frozen lake, two people who once collided by accident sign a different kind of contract. Not written in legal language, or typed on a screen, but traced in the warmth of joined hands and the quiet certainty in their chests. No expiration date, only snowfall, and the steady, stubborn decision to keep choosing each other every Christmas, as long as the lights burn in the windows of Aurora Manor and the snow keeps falling over New York.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.